I've been looking forward to returning to the world of Cvstodia with the release of Blasphemous 2, a follow-up to the 2019 Metroidvania action-adventure game developed by the Spanish studio, The Game Kitchen. Blasphemous 2 picks up after the events of the Wounds of Eventide DLC from the first game, in which your character, the Penitent One, and enemy-turned-ally Cvstodia slayed the High Wills to put an end to the miracle and freed Cvstodia of its suffering, ultimately resulting in your death. Unfortunately, suffering continued in the lands, giving rise to the return of the miracle and the potential birth of its new child, as observed by a massive heart which has appeared in the sky. This heart is protected by the miracle's sentries, known as the Archconfraternity, and none other than the very first penitent. With the Penitent One now resurrected, your penance continues, as you are tasked with eliminating the Archconfraternity to reach and kill the miracle's child before it is born. It's clear that production values have been stepped up in the cutscene department, as Blasphemous 2 features numerous animated cutscenes with a visual style that would nearly be fitting for its own animated series. For fans of the original game, this style switch is quite the departure from the former's pixel art based cutscenes, which I did personally prefer, as I felt they better captured the unnerving and horrific mood of your journey, in addition to transitioning more seamlessly into gameplay, as that too utilizes pixel art. With that said, I still enjoy the style of the cutscenes in the sequel, although noting that due to its changes, it does present the game with a different mood and atmosphere compared to the original. In terms of its art style, Blasphemous 2 follows in the footsteps of its predecessor, that which was inspired heavily by Spanish culture, Catholicism, and their iconography. Your character, the Penitent One, returns in his familiar plated armor and capirote hood, a design influenced by Catholic brotherhoods commonly seen during the Holy Week in Spain, for example. As you explore the world of Cvstodia, you'll be treated to environments which alternate between above-ground areas set against backdrops of cloudy skies and grand architecture, and gloomy maze-like areas littered with enemies ready to put an end to your quest. The majority of NPCs you encounter are quite striking, featuring unusual eye-catching designs that leave you torn between whether you find their art novel and impressive for a video game, or downright disturbing. One aspect I liked about these designs is that they leave no doubt as to the message and emotion that is being conveyed according to what predicament the particular NPC is facing. For example, there's this one NPC who sheds her own blood to increase your health when you bring chalices and vials found in the world to her. As you progress through the game and near your maximum health limits, you will progressively see her flesh shockingly peel away, piece by piece, until all that's left is a skinless body. In summary, if you're a fan of the original Blasphemous and enjoyed its visuals, expect familiarity here with its sequel. The developers at the Game Kitchen set out to make a sequel that felt closer to a classic Metroidvania game, abandoning the original game's code and spending a year and a half to rebuild their tools. While in the original game, your character had access to only one weapon and various spells, in its sequel, you are offered multiple weapons to switch between for different gameplay styles covering both combat and exploration. The mace weapon possesses the longest reach and highest damage of all weapons, and can be empowered to deal even greater damage. However, its main drawbacks consist of it being the slowest weapon and the only weapon not capable of parrying enemy attacks. As for exploration, this weapon can be used to ring bells found throughout the world, which emanate sound waves that open special doors. The dagger and rapier, by contrast, possess the shortest reach and lowest damage of all weapons. However, they are the fastest, allowing you to strike quickly and retreat swiftly. It also features a sliding thrust ability, useful as it allows you to attack while dodging at the same time. For exploration, this weapon is used to strike mirrors, which teleport your character across and through obstacles to reach normally unreachable areas, and is featured in some interesting platforming segments. Lastly, the sword is the most balanced weapon across all categories, and is most similar to the Mea Culpa from Blasphemous 1. For exploration, the sword can be used to perform a downward thrust from a great height to destroy normally impenetrable surfaces. I found this addition of a secondary function to each weapon to be a thoughtful touch, as it gives the player a reason to use each weapon even if they're not actively doing so for combat reasons. At the start of the game, you're only allowed to select one of these weapons to begin with. However, you are allowed to sample test each one to get a feel for what you prefer. The 2 weapons left behind will be available for pickup a couple of hours into the game through normal exploration, so there's no need to be concerned with missing out. Personally, I stuck with the mace weapon for the majority of my playthrough, which probably made the game feel easier, although I could be wrong. Although it is the slowest weapon, there were very few situations where that actually posed a hindrance to me, and considering the long reach and arc of its attack, I was often able to hit and stun enemies at a distance long before they could reach me. Aside from weapon selection, Blasphemous 2 features further gameplay customizations, starting with the weapon skill tree. As you execute enemies and bosses, you'll earn resources known as Marks of Martyrdom, which may be used to progress your combat abilities with the weapon of your choice. The skill tree is broken into 3 tiers, and unlocking further nodes will cost more marks. Moving on, prayers make a return here, allowing you to cast magical attacks. These consist of verses which can be quickly cast, and chants which take a bit more time to unleash, yet are quite powerful. Used wisely, these can melt through enemies and make difficult areas much more approachable. Wrapping up the customizations are your rosary beads and altar pieces. Rosary beads are items you equip to apply various effects on yourself, such as increasing your elemental or physical defense. Altar pieces essentially accomplish the same purpose, but cover a broader range of effects, such as increasing weapon damage or your critical hit chance. These figures are equipped into a series of slots, with the possibility of bonus effects granted depending on which figures sit next to each other, such as this one which summons rotating orbs around me, which damage nearby enemies. As you can tell, Blasphemous 2 offers numerous options for you to customize your build to suit your playstyle, or prepare for a challenge that awaits. Should you die, upon each death you will accumulate guilt, a game mechanic which reduces your blue fervor bar used to cast prayers, in addition to reducing your character's defense. On the other hand, you'll gain more money and marks should you not purge yourself of guilt by retrieving your body or paying the Confessor NPC. However, I didn't find this trade-off to be worth it, as some later bosses have attacks that will more quickly chew through your health with your defenses lowered. When it comes to enemies, generally speaking, you have your regular types which can be killed quickly after a few hits, and your more elite types, who not only take more time to take down, but will also inflict higher damage on you. The map size of Blasphemous 2 is large, and for the most part, the game does make an effort to introduce a few new enemy variants in each area that you haven't encountered before. With that said, I thought overall enemy variety left much to be desired. Not only are there familiar repeat enemies from the original game, but despite coming across varying enemy designs as you progress through the game, most combat essentially boils down to the same type of engagement of dodge or parry and attack. I rarely felt like I needed to engage with most new enemies using any different methods than what I've already been using with other enemies up until that point. There are sections of the game where, to retrieve a special item, you must defeat multiple waves of enemies in a challenge gauntlet of sorts. In these, I found presented more of a challenge and need to strategize than enemy encounters during regular exploration. Moving on, while the enemy boss designs are not as graphic as those of the original, boss fights in Blasphemous 2 will definitely keep you on your toes. Possessing far larger health pools and strength, and at times multiple phases, these boss battles are a test of both your reflexes and endurance. Combat here mainly relies on memorization rather than an in-the-moment intuitive sense of the situation, as your attacks force you to commit through the animation, and therefore you have to know ahead of time when you can safely attack, when you cannot, and even when you can heal. Upon defeat, you're treated to a post-fight scene which further expands the plot and allows the story to progress. Given the broader range of customizations present in this sequel, I did find Blasphemous 2 overall to be an easier experience from start to finish compared to 1, as I could always go back to the drawing board and switch things around to find a build more suitable to any situation. This isn't to say that all bosses were a walk in the park, however. A few of them did give me some trouble, particularly the ones which incorporated a great deal of projectiles and environmental hazards to complicate the fight. Upon game completion, you'll most likely end up with a default ending to the game. However, post-game, you do have the option of pursuing the steps necessary to achieve the true ending, and fortunately, at least to my knowledge, it isn't possible to get locked out of, nor does it require another playthrough, so that's a huge plus. In the end, I had a good time with Blasphemous 2. Although I preferred some aspects of the original over the sequel, I still found the sequel satisfying enough with its new offerings to keep me entertained. For Metroidvania fans looking for a new game in the genre to get into, and especially for fans of the original game, I would recommend giving Blasphemous 2 a shot. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to the channel to be notified of when new videos release, and let me know in the comment section what your thoughts were on Blasphemous 2. Till next time.